Welcome to the Millionaire Journey Podcast. The goal of this podcast is to guide and empower you on your journey towards financial independence. Here's your host, Glenn Yaney.
Today, my guest is Richard Wilson, CEO of the Family Office Club and billionaires.com. Welcome, Richard.
Appreciate you having me here, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I saw you on Better Wealth. I can't remember his name. It's Caleb, and I've seen you on some other podcasts. I'm excited to have you on.
Appreciate it.
If you could just share a little bit about your backstory.
Sure. So I started our investor club in 2007, and it really started with a blog, and the blog took off and got on the front page of the Boston Globe, and then spoke a couple hundred times on in 17 different countries on family offices and doing deals, etc. I bought familyoffices.com, wrote a book for Wiley, and then we grew our online networking groups on LinkedIn mostly. And so, fast forward 18 years, we have 20 team members. We've hosted 300 investor club events and published 13 books. And we have done about $500 million of deals that we've structured and originated, and seen several $1 billion of deals get done through our investor club over the years. So happy to dig into any of that you think your audience would care more about, whether it's entrepreneurial side or investing or capital raising, whatever would be of interest.
Yeah. So what does the Family Office Club do? Like, what do they cover?
Sure. So we basically have 20 plus live events per year. And a lot of our events are in Dallas, New York, South Florida, or Los Angeles. So if you're near those major airport hubs, you can get to our events very easily. It's scientifically proven that deals are 16 times as likely to get closed if you meet in person versus pitch it via Zoom or via LinkedIn, et cetera, right? So especially bigger ticket items. If you're going to marry somebody or put $500,000 into a deal, you probably want to meet them in person, right? It's a little bit more important than your average decision, right? So that's why we do all the in-person events. We record them all. You can stream 1,200 investor talks through our mobile app. And then I've also personally built in-house myself 57 different custom GPT, like bolt-on artificial intelligence tools for GPT that basically take what is just about digital superintelligence and interprets it for investors, capital raisers, and CEOs to help people like us tap into digital superintelligence for our niche. So we have 57 of those tools that we've built out, and that's the other thing that we're up to.
So with Family Office Club, are there family offices involved, or how does that work?
Yeah. So when we host an event, we invite the heads of other investor clubs. We invite wealth advisors. We invite single family offices, multifamily offices. We'll have a dentist that sold their practice or a plastic surgeon there. We also at each summit have a pro athlete investor panel. So we have NFL and NBA players that come. We do fireside chats with centimillionaires, decamillionaires. We've had exits, billionaires. And it took me 12 years to negotiate it. But a couple of years ago, I bought billionaires.com, and we've interviewed, Tim Draper, John Paul DeJoria, Tony Robbins, Mark Cuban, et cetera. 46 billionaires so far that we've interviewed there. And we'll sometimes interview them on stage at our events and do like a fireside chat thing. So the stage is usually about 70% investors, family offices, and 30% non, who are like sponsors, basically. And then in the audience, it's about 50-50. It's usually like 42 to 45% investors, and then about 56% someone who's just running a company or raising capital or runs a fund, et cetera. So that's kind of the balance we try to keep.
Whenever I hear family office, like what is like the minimum size of a family office?
Yeah, some people will say with great authority and confidence in their voice, oh, you can't possibly have a family office unless you have $300 million. And a lot of family offices like to wear a tight scarf around their neck and talk in a very prestigious way. But the reality is a lot of family offices are just super founders. They're just entrepreneurs that figure out how to cash flow 7, 8, 9 figures a year. And most of the time, the people dressed in a 3-piece suit with a cummerbund are trying to sell you something. They're an attorney, they work in a private bank, et cetera. So I think that's important to know. What's happening to the industry is that there's 3 types of family offices. There are virtual family offices, which are very lean. They outsource almost everything, and they only do in-house what they're world-class at, and they're very, very leanly operated. With that type of family office, you can keep things relatively tight, and you could be worth 15, 30, 50, 70, a couple $100 million and run a virtual family office. And then there's a full-fledged single-family office with usually more employees in-house, more overhead, more reporting, more full-time dedicated W-2 employees. And then a multifamily office is basically an ultra-wealthy focused wealth management solution that's more holistic and more full breadth in terms of the solutions they provide.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I worked at American Homes for Rent. We had the founder of Public Storage started it, and once in a while we'd have one employee go to a family office, and we'd call it the mothership. And
Yeah,
so we'd have like attorneys or people that were in charge of like analytics, and then they would end up just they're like, oh, they're going to the family office, and you're like, oh, there goes that guy. He's like never coming
yeah.
back.
Yeah, it's interesting working with like the super ultra wealthy, like identifying what they did, how they think, how they're very different than most business people, like what makes the difference. And when I started the business, I had less money in my bank account than I had due for rent that month in
Yeah.
Harvard Square. And then just by listening to them and interview them and studying them and sharing what I've learned with other people, it makes it deeper in my brain by sharing it. So we love sharing what we're learning just because I hear myself say it makes me hopefully not forget it. And then by doing those things, that's how I built my own wealth. And so it's really like a lot of people come to an investor club, of course, to meet investors, to get a deal done that they're on a 90-day timer on or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the big benefit of a family office club is you're rubbing shoulders with super founders and you're learning how they act, how they negotiate, how they structure, like how they think. And that is this higher level value because once you get that, then you can close ultra wealthy investors faster anywhere you meet them, not just at our events, right? And it changes who you are and how you think. So that's the true value of Family Office Club, even though people do raise capital for deals and find an investor at their first event or their 10th event or whatever.
I've been told I went to this capital raising event. It's like a conference, fully funded, but there was a guy who spoke on behalf of family offices, and he was talking about it's actually very hard to get into the family office realm. Like it's like very they hold their cards to their chest, and he's like, but
Right.
once you're in, he's like, then they start telling their friends about it. Then you get kind of tied in. But the hard part is getting
Yeah.
introduced into the family office investors.
Yeah, yeah, I do think that is it can be the case, but the reality is there's a lot you can learn from them at a distance, and then it helps you with all types of investors.
Yeah.
So if you try to dial things in for family offices and only get it 70% dialed in, you'll look that more buttoned up to a high net worth investor. You'll start raising capital faster, and it served you to try to orient towards a more sophisticated investor because now you look better than the other ones that are pitching the small investors. And, there's a quote going around related to artificial intelligence and just the world we're in now. And, 2.5 times as much capital was raised in 2022 compared to 2024. There's a lot less capital being raised, as everybody knows. And so the quote is that, being average has never been so severely punished, and being excellent has never been rewarded so much. And that's true for people at corporations that may get replaced by AI, but it's also true for people raising capital right now, right? If you're average, you're not going to get allocated to by almost anybody. But if you're excellent, then you're going to get like the lion's share even more so than in the past, I think.
It's like the case with everything, really. It's
Yeah.
like they always say like, "Oh, the failure rate's very high," but hey, guess what? There's people that succeed and just have to ignore the noise and continue to get better every day, you know?
Yeah. I mean, one $4 million check is equal to 40 $100,000 checks. So
Yeah.
you literally have to sit down for cups of coffee or phone calls and Zooms and convince 40 investors to come in, or you get one investor. So it's worth planting those seeds because it's 40 times more powerful. And they might want different deal terms, of course, because they're used to
Yes.
getting away when they put in half the money. But that's just what makes life more efficient. So you don't spend your life raising capital. You can actually manage your assets too.
Yeah, definitely. I was just, speaking with somebody about that the other day. It's like when you have, a smaller group of investors, it makes it a lot easier to have the conversations, keep a closer connection, and, be able to, nurture that to grow even bigger.
Yeah, I think there's a one big shortcut for raising capital is that if you think about the deal and what industry it's in, what the niche is, who could add the most value to the deal and make sure it goes really well or sells for a maximum price or force appreciation and boosts the NOI, whatever it is, And you go to that person and have them provide 25%, 20%, or half or all of the capital and just get that one key anchor strategic investor in, then all the other capital comes in much faster because then other
Oh yeah.
investors look and say, well, if that big giant of a REIT invested in your deal, I'm in too. And then all the money comes in right away.
It always works out that way. I know I've raised a few deals, and it's like the first million's the hardest, and then the second million it gets to be a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Partially a confidence game. I see a lot of people out there that they kind of fake it. Like I can just feel that it's fake, and they're
Yes.
like, "Oh, we're about to close, and we only need 200K left of this 4 million. The rest is like committed." But like, I think like sometimes investors can see through it if you try to fake that. And committed is different than like wired in the door, right? In the investment world, like they say, until the fat lady is sung, it means absolutely nothing that somebody says that they're going to invest money because their spouse, their partner, the weather, it's something's going to change, and then maybe they won't.
Yeah. And that's the hardest thing is, when you're following the social media and you're
Yeah.
seeing things, it's like kind of like just trying to sift through what's real and what's not. That's the hardest part about all of this. But
Everyone has a very elegantly written article about something these days because of AI, right? Everyone's the instant expert on any topic, and it's so
yeah,
well written that I'm just kind of like, the worst is on LinkedIn when you just see like the overly detailed comment saying, "Yes, I loved your point on number three," and et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like
yes.
so politely, it's like long comments is just so fake AI. LinkedIn needs to get on top of that.
Hey guys, if you want to learn more about our deals we're investing in, go to our website and sign up for our free ebook, 10 Reasons Mobile Home Parks Outperform Other Real Estate Investments. We won't spam you. We'll just keep you updated on the podcast and the deals we're working on. Now, back to the show. So what do you have in plans for the next year and 5 years?
Yeah, so we're trying to build out like a 3 point moat that makes us hopefully one of the top three investor clubs in the world. First off, there's not many investor clubs that host more than 1 to 4 events a year. We're doing 22 events this year. We're doing 25 next year, and I think that's really important. But the 3 point moat is we're trying to go from 17 million. We'll probably hit 20 million this year in social media group members and followers and grow that to 100 million. We're also growing billionaires.com from 46 interviews to 100 interviews. And we've created an artificial intelligence tool around all of the collective wisdom of billionaires. So you can chat with the wisdom of what they've all said publicly. And we think that having the number one resource on planet Earth related to the billionaire segment on their mental models and their strategies will be amazing. And the third point is really the artificial intelligence moat that we're building. So trying to build out those AI tools to be really enterprise quality, really robust, and like really practical and easy and powerful to use is basically the three things that we're aiming for over the next 5 years. I think those things will serve the community, get us better deal flow, better investors, better events, and then it's kind of a win for everybody in our community.
Definitely. And the more people that come together, it's like then the just like what we were talking about before, even with AI, it's like the best
Right.
will succeed, and then and then they'll stand out from. You'll have a better choice of who to pick from.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like for investors listening, we talked about that anchor investor earlier. Part of the insight there is that if you, as an investor or a fund manager that's trying to get access to the best deals in the world, if you're seen as the person who is strategic to a deal, the people don't just want your checkbook. They want your brain trust, your relationships, your Rolodex, your distribution, navigation abilities, your reputation. And so if you can see deals first exclusively and at a better valuation, then your balance sheet's going to go up. And if you're just seeing, a tenth of the deals of someone else, you're not going to do as good a deals. You need to have some types of deal flow coming to you first, and at better valuations, or you're probably going to get in trouble.
What would you say, just from what you've seen, is the best contrarian investment right now? Like, what's the investment that nobody's really talking about?
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. I do like to find weird niches. So, for example, if somebody was to invest in graveyards that own real estate and have extra land, how often over 18 years running 300 events has anyone pitched investing in graveyards? Zero times, So I love little weird niches like that that just get overlooked, maybe aren't fun to talk about. Sometimes the uglier the business, almost the better, or the more niche weird. Peter Thiel says you should monopolize a small industry that's so small no one cares or even notices what you're doing, and then move in concentric circles into bigger spaces once you've figured out how to monopolize a very small market or niche. So I like ones like that, but we also look at things in terms of like waves. And there's like the wave of sports betting getting approved in 5 states, 20 states, 30 states, and then the wave of cannabis getting approved in all these different states, and then the wave of crypto and all the real estate people at my events laughing out loud at the dumb crypto kids in 2011, 12, 13 pitching their crypto funds. And then we saw, AI. People are like riding the AI wave right now, and robots are physical AI, and that's kind of like the next wave coming in. Besides quantum computing, we're trying to identify those next waves out there that could be forming or coming in. And, AI and robotics is a massive wave. Sports betting, cannabis, a little bit more nichey. But I think it's important when you talk about areas people are not investing in is like, is it so niche you can dominate it? Or is it niche because you're early and it's going to become a massive wave? I think those are like two different types of like ideas people don't talk about that could both be super valuable. And it's not one's right, one's wrong. It's just kind of trying to think where's the best focus of your money and energy.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind, I don't know if it's like it's definitely not a new one, but it's
Yeah.
with parking lots. I've seen
Right.
people getting into that. A lot of the mobile home guys because the problem with mobile home parks is that they're not making any more new ones, so it's very hard to grow over a certain point. And
Sure.
I've seen them pivot to like parking lots and do other, which seems like a pretty easy business, but then you find out maybe that's pretty operational. You know,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we like one of our divisions is medical clinic capital. So we have investments into profitable medical dental practices that have multiple locations, multiple doctors per location, and we just back the doctor founder and help them scale more before they sell to private equity. That's a pretty small niche that most people ignore, I think, including doctors don't get to invest in many medical practices. And then we also we're doing research on different investments in the area of robotics and robots, et cetera, is something we think that is going to be massive, a decade from now. And so happy to trade notes with anyone listening on the robot niche because we're doing a bunch of research on where we want to, focus our energy there right now.
yeah. The other thing about being around people that are very successful, like for me, I'm thinking about like some of my top investors that I work with. It's you hear about what they're doing and it like blows your mind. Like credit card processing might be like something you never really think of, but then it goes into another like with the credit card processing, it turns into you create websites that uh it's like an online pharmacy that you can sell to doctors to start their own online pharmacy. Then it's like a whole nother business inside of it. And it's pretty wild from just being around those people. And I think that's with your family office club, just being in those groups, it's like it just kind of triggers ideas about, things that maybe not copy anybody, but you can just see what other people doing and it kind of triggers your mind to do more.
Yeah, that is a massive source of value. Like what you're around determines what you think about, how optimistic you are, like completely,
Yes.
right? What podcasts you listen to. And so the thing is that when you come to our events, you usually leave inspired and excited. And you're exactly right. When you meet with someone who's like a high velocity entrepreneur or listen to a centimillionaire and what they're doing, it's like amazing. And it is wild. It's like, holy crap, like they did that. And I think without listening to people do that, I would not have bought billionaires.com or had the guts to say, who am I? Like, why doesn't Goldman Sachs own that? Do they not want to work with billionaires? Of course they do. Right. And like my little 20-person company owns it. They spend more on private travel in a day than I have revenue all year long. Right. And
Yeah.
so, why do I get to own that? It's thinking differently. It's not thinking like the herd and it's not looking at a short term ROI. It's like long term. If I can build that position, amazing things will happen. But you're exactly right. Like if it wasn't for listening to them, I wouldn't have the confidence to do a lot of things that I do in my life.
As you're saying that, I've been thinking about, they always say to invest in yourself. And I never really know what that means. Like, you're like, what do they mean by invest in yourself? What am I supposed to invest in? But what I tell you is that every time I go to a conference, even if it's just a regular mobile home conference, I feel like I'm a level
Right.
better than where I was before.
Right.
And
Right.
going to those types of conferences, the
That
ones that
makes
you're
sense.
talking about, it's like,
Yeah.
how do you not get better at what you're doing?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that ways to invest in yourself, just to be super clear from my perspective, is like I've identified that there's all these New York Times best-selling books that everyone's read. But turns out those people are just really good at marketing their books. Is that really the best people to learn from? I'd rather first learn from billionaires. And there's 245 books not written on billionaires, but written by billionaires. It's thoughts from their own head directly to me from the billionaire, better than sitting down for one cup of coffee. It's like, here is my life's work and what I've learned. And people put that on paper for $8 or on Audible. So I've read 130 of those 245 books. That is a way of investing in yourself. Being in the right communities and joining 2 or 3 communities is an investment in yourself. And you can't look at it as a cost or this is like an expense. It's kind of like if you had you need to put the best food in your body, you need to put the best ideas in your brain. And if you're around optimistic, visionary, confident, fast moving, high velocity, high integrity people, that's going to rub off on you for sure.
100%. I feel like that last minute or two would have to be like I have to repeat that to myself as well because it feels like I'm stagnant at times where I'm like
Right.
because right now we have whatever everybody knows on my podcast I have 650 units and I'm
Yeah.
not looking to buy any more right now. I'm just looking to like maintain, make them right, replenish
Yeah.
reserves. We had some hurricanes last year,
Oh
so it
yeah.
kind of hit us hard. So it's like if I look at it as if I can't make money with 650 units, I shouldn't be buying anything else. Like I'm like I need to
Mhm.
figure out how to really get down to operations, get it. But
Yeah.
what I will tell you, it's so boring that I'm like, what do I need to do to improve myself? And I just started reading a book. Uh, it's Head I Win, Tails You Lose, by Patrick Donahue, and great book, but it's like as I'm reading it, I'm thinking about the seasons of his life that he went through and the
Yeah.
same thing I'm going through. And I feel like this is going to last forever when it's only probably been 6 months of like, doing
Yeah.
this. It's like as I'm going through the season, I'm just like, how do I get better from this situation?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I mean, many times in business and life, you put energy into something and you got to keep at it before you see great results. You might hit a plateau with your physical fitness, with the
Yeah.
business. Maybe it seems like no one cares what you're doing. But it might just be literally the name of something, the packaging, the focus. It could be a stroke of bad luck if it comes to a hurricane that has only hit 3 times in the past 100 years, and it happened to do so a year after you bought a property. So I would keep on moving forward. I think that Peter Thiel told Zuckerberg that in a fast moving world, you can look at many things. They might all seem risky, but the most risky action might be to decide to do nothing because then you're not growing and you have no chance of being future proof and really growing. And you said like, oh, I should repeat that to myself, that last minute of what you said. And we all need to have these mental programming statements. And so every day I read this one pager and I have my monthly, quarterly, annual goals. And then these are all of my mental one-liner statements. And I read these every single morning, including today. And I say things like, what I do matters more than how hard I work, but I'm going to outlearn, outfun, and outwork anyone else running an investor club on planet Earth. And do what's exponential. Don't do anything that's boring. Cut things that are losers and 10x what's working and like pattern match and look for those things. And like, so I've got about 50 of those statements. I'm happy to share them with you and your listeners, like my template for that, because whenever I mention it, people are like, hey, can I see what you wrote down? And like your mental programming and what you need might be very different than what I wrote down, but maybe like 10 out of the 50 things you'd want to steal. And then you can just use the Word document template. And, you know, I just look at it while I'm shaving each morning. It just kind of mentally tells my brain, this is where I'm going long term, medium term, short term. Here's how I'm going to get there, and pretty much ignore everything else in the world and just stick to this because this is what works. And then every month I print out a new version and I might have tweaked like one little statement or something.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. If where can people find you?
Familyoffices.com is the best spot. You can see our event schedule. You can see our artificial intelligence tools that are on there. We've really made our deep data on 22,000 investors, 1,000 different deal structure options, and 1,500 investors speaking on stage, all transcribed into different AI tools. So you can have conversations with the collective wisdom of 1,500 investors, et cetera. That's called Investor Superintelligence is our AI platform. So that's all on familyoffices.com. And my email is just richard@familyoffices.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard, for being on the show.
Appreciate it, Glenn. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Millionaire Journey podcast. Please rate, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with somebody you think would enjoy listening.